So we are now moving on to part 2, and we're focusing on this part of it. Okay? So to do that, I'm going to have you get out this piece of paper that I gave you. Okay? And we're going to kind of just work through that part of it together because it's easy to have that. Okay? Does anybody remember the definition of slope for Mr. Meeks last year? It's actually a fraction. Something over something. Yeah. Good. Rise over run. Okay? So, if you remember that, and you remember when I taught you rate of change, I kind of alluded to rise over run. I said, from here to here, how many did you go up? And remember you said I went from 40 to 70, so I went up 30. Okay? Well, the good part about this is that there's no story to this. Everything is going by ones. So let's talk about this for a second. First of all, is this slope positive or negative? Negative. So you know your answer, whatever you give me, it needs to have a negative in it. Okay? And a lot of people forget that. And I also said you start from left to right. So you could start here, but when you're given 2 points, what I'm going to say is start at the point farthest to the left. Okay? So if you want to put a little highlight there, I'm going to start there. So now this is where your 2 colors come in. All right? What did I say? I'll use red and green. Okay? So if the definition of slope is rise over run, we're going to use Christmas colors. So, rise means up and down, run means left and right, correct? So I'm going to put my pen or pencil or color pencil, whatever, on this point farthest to the left. And here's kind of how I explained it to my 7th graders when I taught advanced a couple years ago. I would say this is a little neighborhood, and these are all streets. And that dot's your house, and that dot's your friend's house. And when you want to go to his house, you get on your bike. And how many streets over do you have to go? How many streets up do you have to go? So if I'm here and I need to get here, or your friend is giving you directions, they would say go down 1 street and over 3. Right? So draw a little line here. I'm just going to put a little arrow there too. So my rise is going down. Sounds kind of weird, because rise usually makes you think up. But what kind of number could I put to represent a rise that's going down? Like if you get in the elevator and you're on floor 10 and you want to get to floor 8, you just want to rise -2 floors, right? So this rise is -1. Do you agree? And your rise goes in your numerator, right? Now I'm on the same block. I just need to go and run 3 streets. So this is your 1, 2, 3. Do you notice that I didn't start counting until I got to the next block? I didn't start with this. I started, this is 1, 2, 3. So my run was 3. So what do you think the slope of that line is? -1/3. Because I went down 1 over 3. Do you remember this? Yeah, Christmassy. Do you remember this from last year? Okay, good. I did have, and I guess I'll just show you now. I would not show this to my 7th graders for the first time ever. Somebody said, what if you happen to start at this point and go to this point? I said you always start at the left. You don't have to. I think it's just less complicating. Could you start here and go up? And what would your rise be? +1, but what would your run be? -3. And is that okay? Absolutely. It's the same thing. So I think it's a little easier. You will never see me start at the right. For 12 years, I've always started at the point farthest to the left and just went to the right. That way, you know what I guarantee? I guarantee that my run is always positive. I can guarantee that every single time that my bottom number is going to be positive because I'm running to the right, which is a positive direction, right? All right, let's take a look at number 2. So, starting with your rise, I'm going to start at this point. I'm going to rise 3. And because I'm rising up, that's a positive direction, so that's 3. My run is also Positive. There's 1. What's your slope? 3. Ringing a bell, I hope? Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to number 3 and see what you can get from there. So let's start at the point farthest to the left. This time my rise is what? I'm going down. So I went -3, and you have to remember to put that in your numerator. So often I get reciprocal answers. Do you know what I mean by that? Instead of -3 over 2, they'll put 2 over -3 because they have the rise and the run backwards. So make sure that you keep that straight. It's the rise and the run. So I want you to try number 4 yourself real quick. And if you can do it without the colors, that's okay. I kind of think it's a nice visual. So go ahead and give number 4 a shot and see what you got. Did you get positive 3/2? Okay. So positive 3 over 2. 3/2. And you know what? Because slope is defined as rise over run, I don't want to make that 1.5, do I? Okay, you don't really want your slope to be a mixed number. You don't have to deal with that. Okay? Let's do number 7. So take a look at number 7. Do that and see what you get. Let's see if there's something you're going to need to do with that. Okay, so did you get that? So, on your check for understandings, if you leave this as -6 over 2, you're going to get a 0.5 point off. Because slopes should always be reduced, if possible. Okay? So this correct answer is actually -3. All right, I want to point something out, too. Is -6 over 2 the same as -3 over 1? So do you think if I started here and instead of going down 6 and over 2, if I went down 3 and over 1, would that give me the same result and land on the line? Yes. So down 3 over 1 lands me right there. So it's like I have that little green triangle and this big blue triangle. They're similar triangles, right? Down 3 over 1 is the same as down 6 over 2. If I went down 12 over 6, if I went down 12 over, what would I need to go over to have it be a slope of -3? Over 4, right? So as long as any number that fraction you get equals -3, it would be on the line. Got it? Okay, so try number 8 and then we're going to move on. And here's the other thing. Drawing these lines is just a way, you're not going to draw the lines every single time unless you need to. You can just put your pencil here and count it out if you need to. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I would put up 7 over 3. 7/3, done. That's all you have to put. There's no work to show. You don't need to show those lines, okay? Okay, so now I want to show you 2 other things. But I don't have a line that's drawn like that. So what I want you to just do is kind of draw a horizontal line on number 6, just right at that top point. Put arrows on the end of them because we're talking about full lines. No domain restrictions. Okay. Now, the other thing is there are no points. So you kind of get to choose whatever points you want. Let's just choose these 2. So from this point to this point, what's my rise? 0, right? What's my run? 2. And technically, if you chose another point different than the person next to you, what if their run was 8? What if their run was -3? So it doesn't matter what your run is, because when your numerator is 0, or yes, your numerator is 0, what's your answer? 0. And didn't that confirm the fact that your slope of all horizontal lines are 0? So, does everybody understand that? Okay. Go over to number 5 and just pick anywhere. Just draw a vertical line somewhere. It doesn't matter. I have mine at 3. Pick 2 points, wherever you want. What's my rise? I know, some of you are like, well, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, or it could be -4. It doesn't matter. It's not going to matter whether it's 4 or -4, because what's my run? 0. And something you may or may not know right now, and this, I guarantee you, you're going to get these confused. Please be careful and separate them in your brain. When this answer is not 0, this answer is not -4, it's what? Undefined. So the actual words undefined, or the letter undefined, that needs to be written on your paper. You will get a half a point off if you leave your answer like that. Because I don't know if you think that's 0. That's not a slope of 0. This is a slope of 0. So here's a little way to remember that. When 0 is on top, it's okay to have that. When 0 is underneath, that's a no-no. Okay? Something even better, which I think is kind of cool. When 0 is under, it's undefined. So when 0 is under, it's not undefined, it's undefined. Okay? Whatever you need to do to remember that, whether it's okay or no, 0, under, undefined, just remember it. That's all I ask. Okay? What's that? Am I trying to write D-E? Oh, under. I was starting to write. There we go. See, it's hard trying to talk and write at the same time. You try it. Okay, so are we okay with learning target 2, part 2? I can find the slope from an equation? Yes. From a graph? Yes. So now on to the third part. I can find it from